Good day, everyone. It's the 9th of September 2023, and I'm in Pushkinskaya metro stop. And I always love these lights here. It reminds me of the old black and white silent movie Metropolis. If you don't know that movie, you should look that up. Anyway, let me get out of here and I'll talk about some news when I'm outside here. As I said, it's the 9th of September. It's about 10 minutes to 1. 10 minutes to 1 o'clock here in a Pushkinskaya metro stop on the Red Line. Here's a park, well, little parks all over the place in Belarus, Minsk. So this is just a green strip, I guess. It's not a park. Yes, I should mention a little bit about Pushkin. I don't know that much about Pushkin. He's a poet, a Russian poet, and the last video I made, it was also it had a statue of Pushkin in it in the park that I was at. And if you want to think about some of these other places, such as, I'm going to see if I make this light, like especially Ukraine or the Baltic states, I don't know, Poland, probably Poland as well. They are canceling Pushkin. All books, all literature, everything is going to be destroyed, all destroyed. Everything Russian is going to be destroyed, of course, and particularly Pushkin. Doesn't matter that Pushkin is black, has a black heritage. It's, I guess he's probably about as black as Dwayne Johnson, which is maybe a 25%, I don't know. From St. Petersburg, Pushkin, but as I say, one of the, you know, a pride of Russia, because Pushkin was a member of the nobility. And of course, anytime around then, or even hundreds of years after, no black person ever made it into the nobility in the US, not even Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass was an abolitionist, but he was not in the nobility of the United States. By the way, the BLM people even tore Frederick Douglass's statue down. So cancel culture, you can't even make this stuff up. Thomas Jefferson, we should even talk a little bit about him. Before I'm getting into the news, I'm going into a little bit of history here. Thomas Jefferson, he wanted the eradication of slavery before the year 1800. So in the 1700s, he was trying to eradicate slavery. And then sometime, right around that time, he inherited Monticello from his father. And Monticello, of course, was a plantation. And they had black workers there, or African descent. And I guess it had, I don't know how many acres, I forgot. I was thinking, must be more than 18. I don't know how I got that number in my head, but he had, you know, it was an extensive plantation. And soon right after that time, he was, so to speak, captured from other plantation owners, and he was threatened not to get rid of slavery. And then of course he almost had to continue, so he just treated the slaves much better. And they had running water. He put running water in the slave quarters, one of the first things he did, and they even had plantations that didn't have running water. So the rich people in a lot of that area didn't have running water, but yet his slaves had running water, of Thomas Jefferson. And that was like it was not a new invention, but it was a different technology, you know, and they call them today ram pumps, R-A-M, and it's using gravity and the force of the water to use that to pump it, you know, up a hill, and to apply pressure within some sort of a pipe in order to move water from one place to the other. Very fascinating. And it's like, there's a lot of countries, and they use a lot of that, where you don't need a pump, you don't need any electricity, and you can get water up a hill. I believe I heard even, I'm sorry to be getting into this, because it has to do with a little bit of irrigation. I was even thinking about this myself. I think, depending on what sort of pressure you can get and the length of the pipe and the pressure in the pipe, that I think you can move that up 14 times, or maybe even higher, 14 times higher than the source of the water up a hill. So quite a ways up a hill. without any electricity. That's just a thought. But anyway, Thomas Jefferson, he was threatened, and he never did abolish slavery. He didn't set that many slaves free. And like I said, he was threatened at that time, and yet that was his intention. And yeah, they still tore down his statues as well. And actually, Abraham Lincoln, he had no intention of getting rid of slavery. A lot of people have that wrong, because when he did his campaign speeches, when he was in the South, he was in favor of slavery. When he was in the North, he was against slavery. They didn't have the internet in those days. So that's about all I'll have to say about that. Okay, and now get into some of this news here, which is completely unrelated. Depleted uranium munitions have already arrived from the United States to Ukraine, and as you know, the British depleted uranium munitions are already there, and they've been used. I don't know to what extent, but now the United States depleted uranium munitions are there, but I don't think the vehicle for launching them, the Abrams tanks, I don't think they're there yet. But they're supposed to be there, I think in about 1 week or so, a week or 10 days, and we'll see what happens there. Poisonous depleted uranium, a big bang shell, you know, but like I say, Russia uses tungsten, which is about the same power, but without all the toxic properties and the poisonousness, you know, that stays for a long, long time. And then the US is, of course, denying, oh, they're not poisonous, they're not harmful, oh, they're perfectly safe. You know, what about even American service members whose families have given birth to children, like without arms and things like that, that handle depleted uranium? And there's all kinds of incidences, Italy and Yugoslavia, places where they use these depleted uranium, and there's huge amount of birth defects. You know, I guess you can look into that, but it's just like I said in another video, look at Agent Orange and things. The United States denied any of that stuff. Oh, that it's perfectly safe. You know? So, should I walk over there? Actually, I'll show you a little bit. This corner, I'll show you. It's kind of a mini, not quite as developed Kamena Gorka. You know, Kamena Gorka has a lot of fast food places, and this one has some too. Here's a Burger King. Right across the street is the Belarusian McDonald's, and then a Dodo Pizza is right there. The McDonald's McB is right there. It used to be called Mui, and they changed the name. McBui is better. McB and Burger King, and then I think there's probably a KFC right up here. Let me see. I might get some French fries. There's a little supermarket up there, and what else do I see around this area? Maybe I should show you where I'm walking here. Looks like some kind of restaurant on the other corner written in Belarusian. It may not be that interesting to you. And then on the other corner there's another restaurant and a bank. Looks like let's see if I can get a better view at that. Like I said, it's not quite as developed as Kamena Gorka, but it's a little bit in that way. Another restaurant up here. It's even written in English, but it's probably too far for the camera to get. And then a big grocery store over here. Well, it's a lot here. I tell you, there's beautiful sidewalk over there where the trees are big and the whole entire thing is shaded. Yeah, I've been here before. This is one place I have been before. But not very much, very quickly. Oh, there's a KFC up there. Well, I guess I'll walk up this way. Somebody with a bag guy behind me. I don't know. Let's see what he's doing. It's not a homeless guy. I think they collect things and they recycle and sell and things like that. Not bad though. It's a guy, suppose he makes a living that way. There's not really any homeless people in Belarus. And very, very few like drug addicts. Crime is extremely low. Corruption is virtually non-existent. There's all sorts of things about Belarus that are very appealing. So over time I get into that sort of thing anyway. Okay, let's talk more about some news here. So we're talking about depleted uranium and you know, their effects on humans, you know, plant life, the environment, and it's long lasting. And Russia's going to eventually destroy these tanks, the Abrams tanks. But I guess now the second British Challenger was destroyed like a day after the first one, so they just start using them. And the British were, as you know, bragging that these tanks are invincible. But the first one, I don't know how it was hit or what, but anyway, I believe all the crew members survived. So that's at least a positive thing, but that the tanks aren't invincible. And in any case, lots of people dying still. I guess, in a sense, I guess the counter-offensive is still going. They don't seem to see the futility of this whole thing, that they're just not going to win. And a lot of people are fearing that the United States is now going to be entering this. You know, you hear it from Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, and you hear it from other people. And you never know. You never know. But the U.S. Would rather watch other people die. And of course, it looks like the leadership of Ukraine is more than willing to sacrifice hundreds of thousands of their own people for the geopolitical goals of the United States. Because I don't know. What do you think about what is Ukraine really going to get out of this? What are they going to really get out of this? And what have they got so far? What has it gotten them? And it's bound to just continue fighting to the last Ukrainian. Like I'm telling you, you know, I'm glad to be in Belarus, and you look at these other countries, and these leaders, they care nothing. They care nothing about their country, nothing about their people. They care about themselves, their wealth and their power and their comfort and their privilege. That's what they're there for. And I don't see how many, you know, you have Viktor Orban or Vladimir Putin, who, by the way, is not a big multi-billionaire. I don't even think he's a billionaire at all. Like Elon Musk said, he suspects it. He didn't say he knows he is. He says he probably has more money than me. What would Vladimir Putin do with this money? What would he do with the money? I mean, he's spending his time in office. Do you see does he have yachts and big palaces? Zelensky does, but Putin doesn't. And as you know, Zelensky is probably now twice as rich as Donald Trump. I remember, what was it, not even a year ago, he was matched with Donald Trump, is about the same amount of wealth. Since Donald Trump had lost, I guess, 1 billion apparently while he was president. So it put him down to like 2-point-something billion. And then Zelensky had gotten over 2 billion at that time. And now everybody's saying he's got over 4 billion now, Zelensky. Gosh, how profitable is it to be the president of a country that's losing a war? Incredible. So, I don't know, that's it for about now. But not only this depleted uranium, the United States is also now sending a much larger order of cluster munitions. And as you can see, they feel out the waters a little bit. They put their toe in the water to see how warm it's going to be, see what they're going to be able to get away with. And I also read something, but there's no official word that the United States is going to send ATACMS long-range missiles. Germany said they would. And this is just like the Storm Shadow from Great Britain and France. Basically, it's I guess a joint production, Storm Shadows. And, you know, they've already sent them, and they've had some effect, but it's not going to change the outcome of the battle, of course. And this Taurus from Germany, I don't know that they've ever sent them yet. They said, oh, there's some complications. Annalena Baerbock said, oh, some complications. It might take a little bit of time. And the United States, as you know, when they make the decision, it's there somewhat fast. You know, Germany, they sent the Leopard tanks very quickly, and the United States needed more time, apparently, to send the Abrams. But Germany said they can send tanks very quickly, but not these long-range missiles. So it's just a little bit reversed from the United States. I don't know. But not only that, it's talking about these poisonous weapons. I had said in one video, and there was a doctor, he said that there is evidence that Ukraine has used white phosphorus. You know that white phosphorus, that's also incredibly, incredibly bad, and that's what the United States gave to Israel to bomb Palestinian civilians with at one point in time. You know, and there's footage of that, dropping that at night, and really, really terrible stuff. And then there's, I think I remember something like something called dime munitions. And really, when the small particles get into your body, it basically kills you. So a lot of this stuff. The United States has some very nasty weapons. So let's see what's going to happen on that. I don't know how long ago was that when Israel used white phosphorus against the Palestinians. Yeah. But another thing, Putin yesterday, he came out and he said that the West provoked the conflict in Ukraine to hold back Russia's development. And I'll talk a little bit more about Russia's development because it is really astounding. It is really astounding what is going on right now. Russia has got so much, Russia has got so much economic momentum going right now that it is really daunting. And it has actually slowed down in China, their momentum, but Russia's momentum is accelerating, their economic momentum. So I can almost bet you that Putin would be thanking the United States and the West right now. It's a nice place there. So now Russia's, this boom for non-oil revenues, the Russia's, right now it's on track. I guess they said at the moment the non-oil revenues are up over 56% from last year. Non-oil, we're talking non-oil, nothing to do with petroleum. It's at 18.6 billion US dollars. It's like 800 and something rubles, 800 billion rubles or something like that. And at the end of August, this is also very shocking. Russia had surplus revenues, and you see all the economic boom and all the things that's going on in Russia, and they have surplus money. Now they had a surplus from August. So a lot of this is going to be utilized in a lot of different ways. As you know, I don't know if you know, but if you watch some reports, you find out that Russia is doing huge development in these new, what do you call them, oblasts, Kherson and Donetsk and Lugansk and all of them over there. So huge amount, you know, Crimea, not to mention Crimea and the bridge, and yet they still have a surplus. Isn't that incredible? So for some odd reason, Russia is really, really in a boom. Some people call it a renaissance because they're even creating a lot more new products, and some of that is going on here in Belarus too, but maybe not quite at that level. But Belarus is doing all right at the moment. But I haven't seen any real figures because I'm not an economic person anyway. I mean, any more than any of the rest of you are. So, Boris Johnson, he visited Zelensky yesterday. Makes you wonder what they were up to. What did they get down to? Probably went into some room and they took out a little pouch or something. And Zelensky autographed a photograph for Boris. You know, Boris, I'll bet you he's really happy. His idol Zelensky, autographed a photograph for him. And I think on that photograph it says, "Thanks for your energy, mate." Thanks for your energy, mate. I guess Zelensky's getting pretty good at his English, maybe, or something. Uh, and not to mention, along with that, and as I just told you, that Zelensky's value is estimated at around 4 billion. The rumors also say he asked Boris Johnson, who's probably not a billionaire, he asked him for money. I don't know if Boris Johnson is even still involved in office in any influential way in the office in the UK. And also in the news was Korea. They launched their first submarine with nuclear missiles, supposedly. And I don't know. I don't think that Korea is so unadvanced, I guess is the word. And then you look Elon Musk, of course, and he's even having missiles, and they crashed. I think was in April, but very advanced, very high power sort of a deal. So I'm not gonna. Well, nobody makes fun of Elon Musk, and I'm not going to, and I won't make fun of North Korea either in that. So, as you know, the West is declaring a global food crisis, so that everybody's running out of food. And Bill Gates is buying up farmland, and most of it, the vast majority of it, he's not even farming. Some of it he might be having beef cattle, because Bill Gates, coming from my hometown, since Boeing is there. I'm coming from a high-tech kind of area, Starbucks, Amazon, Microsoft. But anyway, Bill Gates, I should add that my cousin a few times ate breakfast with Bill Gates in the morning, because my cousin, how do I say that? I think I've mentioned that already anyway. Burger King is across the street from Microsoft. Bill Gates had it built there, and next door to the Burger King is the condominium of some the rich part of my family. So he would go over and eat at Burger King, and old Bill Gates was there too. That's when I guess Bill Gates could probably circulate amongst regular people. But anyway, he's not growing much of anything on that. I think he's probably has beef cattle on a lot of that. And I should also mention, once when I was growing coffee, and I was thinking, I'm from Seattle, and Seattle is Starbucks and all that sort of good stuff. And so I contacted the Gates Foundation. I was thinking that they're out to, for farming and things like that, to help people. And the Bill Gates Foundation told me, no, we're not doing that kind of thing. No, not going to help out. And it wasn't for me, had nothing to do for me, but they said, we don't do that sort of thing, for helping for coffee plantations and, and maybe developing that in a tiny little island like that. And then like a year later, I see something in the news that the Gates Foundation is investing in coffee. So that was really pretty interesting. Yes, and the West. In the middle of the food crisis, the West has sanctions on Russian agriculture. Russia is one of the biggest food-producing nations on planet Earth. Number one for wheat and many other things. They're very, very, very high. And what about this sunflower cooking oil when everybody had a shortage of that? Well, guess where most of that comes from? You could go on. And Belarus, of course, does pretty well for the country for what it is here. Actually, Belarus, it's an amazing country for what little potential it has, except for the people. The people have high potential because so you have to go with human resources in this country. Like I tell you, some of this and some of this, and Belarus is very well stocked for that, which is a very good thing. So anyway, now since Russia is sanctioned, they're creating bilateral agreements with many countries. As I mentioned, there's like 6 African countries. And Russia is taking over the shipping. Normally it was the Greeks taking over the shipping. And I found out, I wasn't sure who did insurance, and I guess it's Lloyd's of London. They were doing insurance. And Lloyd said, oh yes, we'll get back involved in that and who knows, I can't remember what those stipulations were in the article I read. It really didn't go into it, but I'm sure it's, they make a lot of money, and maybe they're making a lot less money right now. So what they're gonna do is, they're just going to be in there for the money. But Russia's not going to be playing any games anymore. They're going to say, well, no, you first have to fulfill your part of the agreement, like you never have. and obviously they want to send weapons through that corridor. And I think, who was it? Great Britain. They said that they're going to dispatch jets, fighter jets, to enforce the corridor. And what that really means is so that they can send weapons to Ukraine. So they're planning on maybe having a skirmish with Russian jets on the Black Sea in order to allow ships to get to Ukraine, carrying weapons, of course. But they're not going to say that. They're going to say, oh no, Russia's starving all these people, even though they're giving out free grain. And another thing is, I guess they're being more desperate, and it didn't specify who, but there are some hostile actors escalating to try to blow up the Turk Stream and the Blue Stream pipelines in the Black Sea. I guess there's more and more and more activity of them trying to do that, and Russia's, I don't know, they're going to be hard pressed to dispatch more ships to monitor that. And Turkey, I presume, is also maybe involved, I would hope. And it looks like Hungary is going to be really, really pissed off if anything happens. They said that's an act of war if somebody blows up their pipeline that gets them oil. So this is something with some very bad potential if they blow up those pipelines. And you know who's going to be involved in that. The same ones who blew up the first one in the Nord Stream. So they're going to have involvement in some way. Great, great, great. Okay, and also Nancy Pelosi, guess what? She wants to run again for another term. I don't know how old she is, 90 or something like that, facelifts and all this sort of stuff. And as you know, she evaded, she's supposed to be on lockdown during the corona times that she was enforcing and she was pushing. And of course, she went to the hairstylist when everybody else was locked down. They had that film footage of that. Sometimes this stuff leaks out, which is very good. These are hypocritical type people. And she said she's going to stay in to seek another term because, and she's at her 19th term, I believe, because San Francisco, to continue the great work of San Francisco, probably all the homeless people and the drug addicts, destruction of property, feces on the streets and drug needles and things like that. So she has to continue that. And what I forgot to mention yesterday, or not yesterday, the last video, is when I was talking about these semiconductors and Huawei. You have to realize that the Pelosi's are heavily involved in the semiconductor industry. And the main reason why she went to Taiwan from these heavy threats and this tremendous anger from China, the main reason she went there is because she's invested in the Taiwanese semiconductor industry. And part of that trip was probably to be talking face to face, and they wanted to, at least at that time, and I'm presuming it's either happened or it's going to happen, they want to move, have Taiwan have a second branch of their highest advanced semiconductors, to have it done, being made in Arizona. So that's it. And maybe she's going for that other term because I think a congresswoman term, I don't know if, I believe it's only, is it 2 or 3 years? I'm not even positive anymore. I don't know how I got that. 2 years is very skimpy for anyone to be holding office, and then right away when you get into office you got to start running for re-election again. It's probably 3 years. So San Francisco, I guess they have to promote the LGBTQ. U is for Ukraine, of course, agenda. Homelessness, addiction to drugs, crime, highest crime. Also, I guess shoplifting is not illegal. I think if it's under 300, so you can go in and I guess the shop owners are urged not to do anything about shoplifters. Wow. But Paul Pelosi, her husband, so I guess he's still active. And isn't that strange? You had this this problem in, where was it, Estonia? Kaja Kallas and her husband was doing dealings with Russia, and she was taking some heat for that. But the one China policy, Paul Pelosi, yeah, that's something a little bit different there. I guess that's all right. You can do that. So anyway, that's most all of the news that I wanted to go through today. This should be a little bit shorter video, I'm hoping, later. And in any case, I'm kind of in a good mood, and I can't say why, but looks like if everything is going to be going as I've heard. I was, like, again, I was told not to be talking about it, so but hopefully by the end of September things would be pretty good. Look at this. If I would have remembered that they have a marathon there, I would at least have taken the 5-kilometer run. It's still not too late, but I would go to be doing pretty good. I don't know. Does it cost money to enter? It probably does, and you probably get a t-shirt, probably a very little amount of money, to enter the marathon. And my age, 23, I guess I'd only go for the 5-kilometer, maybe the 10-kilometer, or maybe next year, just 10 kilometers. I think there's, what was it? One of them was 21 kilometers. I don't know. If that's what that said, I think, whatever it was, I don't even remember it. Don't look at it because it's going to be too far for me. I don't know. When have I ever even ran 21 kilometers? I think I might have a couple times, but that was a long time ago. Anyway, that's it for the video, people. And I thank you very much for joining me. And I'll see you on the next one. So, goodbye. Bye-bye.